The year was 1961. The United States of America had recently elected John Fitzgerald Kennedy, also known as JFK, the 35th President of the U.S. on January 20th,
There's the white Lincoln
1961.
right there.
There's the white Lincoln, just behind the tree. There he is. There he is, the next President of the United States. He always sits in the front seat, and incidentally, so does Mr. Khrushchev. These people find that you can wave more easily from that point.
Until his devastating, still unknown assassination in November 22nd, 1963. All seemed going well for the second youngest president ever to be elected, but things took a turn for the worse when the harsh Cuban dictator at the time, Fidel Castro, came into the picture.
The plan was already set at a secret hidden army base somewhere in the Guatemalan jungle. Kennedy just recently learned that American CIA agents and Cuban exiles were already secretly training to invade Cuba to overcome their dictator Fidel Castro. The CIA thought if they helped the exiles that they would rise up and overcome Castro. Fidel Castro was a communist leader with Soviet intentions and had seized private property and caused 100,000 Cubans to flee into America in exile. The plan was thrown at newly elected President John F. Kennedy, and he wanted to avoid having any part in this. Despite him having many doubts, he said yes and agreed to the plan, but he demanded very crucial changes to hide the United States' involvement. The CIA badly misled the new president, promising him an easy victory. A couple days prior to the Bay of Pigs invasion, President JFK publicly spoke out saying that the USA will have no involvement.
There will not be, under any conditions, be an intervention in Cuba by United States Armed Forces. And this government will do everything it possibly can, and I think it can meet its responsibilities to make sure that there are no Americans involved in any actions inside Cuba.
After this invasion, the army planned to bomb and destroy Fidel's Air Force on the ground. Kennedy felt like this would have revealed Washington, D.C.'s involvement and called it off. On April 15, 1961, only 6 American bombers disguised their planes by painting them in the colors of the Cuban flag. These bombers took off from Nicaraguan lands, but not a lot of harm was done considering the fact that there was only 6 bombers, but 3 Cuban planes were destroyed and about 7 civilians lost their lives that day. Fidel then started to look for backup and support, so he looked to the Soviets for help, and then connections were made. Since Kennedy canceled the air support that he was going to get to protect the invasion forces they had at the beach, American ships carrying precious vital equipment for the invaders were quickly destroyed by Fidel's Air Force. News broke out of the attack that was coming their way through a radio station that the people on the beach overheard. The USA's agency's recognition team failed to report to the U.S. and their army that they were broadcasting every detail of the operation to the listeners across Cuba. Cuba did not hold anything back, since they didn't know how many Americans were attacking them and if Americans were getting help from other countries. Without any American support and the failure to resupply the ships with vital supplies, the U.S. invasion was outnumbered and had less weapons. With all these mistakes, it did not take long for Castro's troops to find the invaders. In the next 3 days, the invaders were captured or dead. This defeat brought a lot of humiliation to the United States.